So I'm going to fill this out off camera, and then when we come back on episode 5, we'll have half of our green chip production ready to go, and the next half will be setting up the iron, and then finally bringing these green chips out onto the belt, onto the main bus. Welcome back to Factorio, and I am playing 0.16 latest. And the last time we left off, this is episode 5 of I don't know what I'm doing, but it's going to be enormous. Also known as my I don't know what I'm doing megabase build. Last episode, we left off and I hadn't yet set up mining operations on our iron patch yet. That is now done, as you can see. I went a little bit overboard. So in pre-playing this map, and yes, I have pre-played this map a fair amount, actually, and in my pre-play I mined this patch vertically, which ended up being quite a bit less efficient. Mining it horizontally like this, you can see I have a little bit of room to expand in the middle here, as the edges end up running out of iron. But this allows me to get 16.5 belts of iron ore out of this deposit. Oh, excuse me, it's very dry here this morning. Which is ironic since it rained overnight. So, anyway, so I just set up mining in here. I am trying to exploit like every square inch of this patch. My only requirement really being that a patch that I placed a miner down on had to make more than about 7,000 or 8,000 expected iron. And then I left this area in the middle open so I can push outwards and expand, and that'll be dependent on which lines end up getting used. They should be fully balanced, so I take all 16.5 lines. You can see this one I compressed down from 8 full belts down to 4 fast belts using this splitter here. This is just an 8 to 4 splitter built using red belt. It's being fed by yellow belt. Turns it into 4 fast belts of iron, which I then distribute to these smelting columns. And these 4 smelting columns are essentially the 8 belts of iron that we'll expect on our main bus. So we're going to have two 4-belt lanes of iron on our main bus. If you remember, we set that up. We laid that out over here. So we'll have, this was our main bus diagram. We'd have some extra space here for running and for doing whatever. 2 4-belt lanes of iron. 1 4-belt lane of green chips. Room for roboports. A 4-belt lane of copper. 4 belts for miscellaneous, 3 or 4 squares for fluids, in this case 2 pipes of fluids, and then room for rail if we wanted it, and also a little bit of buffer space at the bottom. So that was what I'd come up with for a main bus at the time, of course, my pre-play, my main bus ended up looking rather a little bit different. I did have room in the center for roboports. It's actually pretty essential to have roboports in the middle of your main bus to connect your factories on the north and south sides of the bus, or on the east and west sides if you're using a vertical main bus. So, I built out our green chip factory here. Ended up building 2 instances of it, mostly just to clear out some of this belt area, as I decided to balance it with a 16:16 belt balancer, and making some of the front end of this belt out of red belt ends up making it almost act as a lane balancer. Not quite, but it does end up being more effective when you have, for example, 6 input lanes and 4, I had at the time 4 output lanes, and I was not getting full throughput on the output until I changed some of this internal starting header area here into fast belts, fast undergrounds, and fast splitters. Anyway, that's what we have for iron smelt at the moment. 16 and a half belts. You can see that this ended up squeezing these mining drills in here, but it's not even a fully saturated half of a belt. So it's about 16 belts of iron out of this patch, which isn't actually technically enough for what we need to saturate all belts on our main bus. If we want 4 belts of iron and 8 belts of iron, 4 belts of green chips, and 1 belt of steel, that's 17 belts. We are getting 16 and a quarter. So what I'm going to end up doing is these 4 belts here feed the green chip production, and these 4 belts are going to be for steel production, which I'm going to build in this video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share these 2 lanes. Because green chip production is a little spotty on its iron use, I should be able to get away with that and still have a full 4 belts of green chips. I know it's technically balanced 6 lanes of copper, 4 lanes of iron, but in my pre-play I haven't ended up using a full 4 belts of green chips all of the time. If I do some of the larger science research, yes, I start to starve my belts. However, this system already has more output from the iron from the iron mine than my pre-play does. Having a full 16 belts out from the iron mine is a substantial increase in throughput versus what I was seeing in my pre-play. So you can see I don't have all of the belts done in the smeltery. The nice part about building these enormous smelting structures is you don't have to build all of it immediately. If you put a giant balancer on the end of it, like I did here, this is a 16:16 balancer, as I said before, you could technically feed 1 belt into this and get all 16 belts out. Obviously, you're going to have, output spread across all 16 belts, so you'll have 1/16 of a belt throughput on your output, but the whole system will function, and you can verify that everything is where you want it to be as far as building location and belt placement. So, like I said, what we're doing today is we are going to build our steel smeltery, and that is going to be 5 columns of stone furnaces, smelting these 5 lanes here, these 5 lanes of iron. So let's get started. Alright, so more news with this series. I've gotten some good feedback from folks it's reinvigorated me to continue playing this series and continue recording it. It's quite a lot of work and time to do a Let's Play of Factorio. The game's kind of a time sink in itself, and then you're recording it all. If you end up messing up your audio, you're done for. You have to do, ADR, you have to do voiceover for it for a whole 1 hour playthrough. And that's assuming that you're only splitting up your playthroughs into 1 hour segments, which is my goal here. But it's not like it's difficult work, like the music video that I made, where I spliced together scenes from StarCraft 2 and set them to Coheed and Cambria. That, as far as editing goes, that was much harder than editing a Factorio video. But the Factorio videos take as much time. It's sad, they take as much time as doing one of those music videos because the render time is so long. Okay, so I want my smelter columns. I was going to say, the other change in this series, starting with this episode, is a new blueprint book. I've gone through and I have streamlined all of the blueprints, and I've got balancers set up here. So you can see I've got, I'm trying to use consistent icons. A 4-to-4 balancer here would be belt and splitter, and then the input and output lanes. In this case, this is belt-belt, which is what I call a super balancer. This is a lane balancer. So this will draw evenly from each lane of each belt, which is really helpful when you have a mining patch that it's just, for whatever reason, you cannot get it to get even output. These are super helpful, these super balancers. So you may remember the old red inline super balancer from the first episodes. I've replaced that with, it's the same design, but now it has, it's done in yellow belt. It doesn't have that extra underground on it, and it has the correct iconography. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to set up all of the things I want to set up in one go. Let's see, we're going to have... Oh, this is going to be... Coal's going to be coming from the west and going to the east, because our coal patch is to the west. So, I'm going to use the west to east splitter, because rearranging the coal inputs on these splitters is more annoying than rearranging the ore inputs. And of course it's nighttime. And that is my luck. Okay, so I want to align this here. Alright, that is going to be right up against those power poles, and that is perfectly fine. So we'll give ourselves a little room. That'll be the end part. So there's 1 belt, 2 belts, 3 belts, 4 belts. That should be 5 belts. Yep. 6 splitters. Yeah, that should be 5 belts. Okay, so we'll do the actual smelting columns this way. Oh no, they're too long. I was worried about that. Darn it. Don't have quite enough room. If there's one thing that doing this Mega Base series has taught me, or, hasn't managed to teach me, but I'm continually reminded of, it's, if you ever want to place down a belt, like actually put it down instead of putting down a ghost image, if you're ever tempted to do that instead, pause, have a thought about why you need to do that, because chances are you're going to need to overwrite that belt in like 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to cut this video right here. We're 15 minutes in, and I'm going to move these belts down. I think that'll give us enough room. If I push these green belts all the way down to here, I think that'll give us enough room to do the smeltery. Okay, so that is all taken care of. Just cleaning up some of this stuff here. I ended up... The reason I have 2 ore lines coming into my steel smelt, yeah, this is not going to work particularly well. It's especially not going to work particularly well now. Unfortunately. I can probably just tap off of this top line on the end ones. Anyway, ended up having to pull these 4 lines down through a 4-to-2 splitter and put them onto 2 fast transport belts to make this whole thing fit. So anyway, it does fit now, thankfully. So if we do this, and then this, that gives us 5 output lanes of smelted material, just by overlapping those blueprints. It's a pretty neat trick. I'm gonna have to do the same thing with these, though. I'm gonna have to put these out, pull these out onto fast belts, just because I'm a little tight on space here, just at the moment. Yeah, actually, once I get things past here, it doesn't really matter. I'll just pull all of my belts, pull all of my belts downwards. I mean, they're going to be going south anyway to meet up with the main bus. It'll end up being like here-ish. Yeah, well, there's green chips right there. So right about there, that shrub, that's where green chips should start. So yeah, it makes sense. I'll have to pull this down to the south anyway, so that's not so bad. It gives me a lot more room. I won't have to do that. So anyway, let's start by placing down our smelters. Stone furnaces for now. So steel is crazy. Steel takes a ton of resources. You need 5 full belts, so 10 lanes of iron plate to smelt out 1 belt or 2 lanes of steel. It's just incredible. Oh, and my voice is just ruined today. Ah, my throat does not want to be awake right now. But anyway, so this will be our steel output, and this will be the steel output for the whole base, pretty much. It depends. On my pre-play, I used an additional set of stone furnaces to make a little bit of extra steel, just to build some come on, brain. It's definitely too early in the morning for me. To build some steel barrels. I decided in that pre-play to barrel my petroleum gas. So you end up, you build you build your oil refineries and your chemical plants, and then you pipe your liquids, either, in my case it was petroleum gas and lubricant, and you pipe them to an assembly machine. And you feed the assembly machine empty barrels, which are made with steel. I think that's the only ingredient. They're just steel. And you feed that to them, and the assembly machine will barrel up the liquids. Makes it super, super convenient to move around your base, because if you already have a bunch of belt infrastructure, it's no problem to build just some more belt infrastructure. So what I'm laying out here are green chips. Those are the 4 belts. And the 2 belts are coal. These 2 belts are... I want 1 belt of coal on the bus, and the other belt of coal is going to go to our power system. We're going to need it. In fact, it's currently disconnected, and I sure hope it's holding up. We can take a look here. It hasn't chewed through the reserve yet, so that's fine. But yeah, this coal patch is going to be insufficient very, very, very quickly. Okay, so let's bring our green chips over. I'm just going to use ghost images. And coal goes on our miscellaneous belt. So that gives me a better idea of where we're going with this. So that will be coal destined for the main bus, and this will be coal destined for power. We're not going to run off of coal forever. Included in the blueprint book is a whole lot of solar infrastructure. It's not 100% optimized. This is just what I came up with while I was trying to build some solar. But it includes like solar plus roboports, solar plus radar, so you can expand your visible area through your solar field. By the time I was building a large amount of solar, I already had construction robots, so I was able to automate the building of all of these solar array pieces, which was pretty awesome, I gotta say. This game basically changes completely once you have automated robots. It's pretty incredible, honestly. So let's put our ore splitter back. We don't need this one anymore, so I'm going to delete it. And we'll put our smelting columns back, because we don't need those for the time being. Okay. So I'm going to hook up power really quick here. And I'm out of iron. Let's snag a little from my reserve chest here. Let's take the whole chest. Make all of those and make all of those. We don't need the reserve chests anymore. The worst part about changing physical belt designs is you end up picking up all of the resources on those belts. Which is why it's really important to really plan and make sure that where you're putting that belt is actually where you need it. The real enemies of Factorio, the trees. Coolest thing about having radar everywhere is being able to zoom in like this. It makes it so much easier to lay stuff out. Let's do that. That should work. Oh yeah, I also laid out some future expansion for our power system. It's currently fed by Yellow Belt, and Yellow Belt isn't going to be able to handle all of these steam engines. It's really not. So eventually I will change that over to Red Belt. I've already got Red Belt running through here, all the way up to this splitter here. You can see I've got Red Belt in here. That is mostly under load to allow, when the system is under load, to better allow these mining drills to actually contribute to the total amount of coal in the system. But I need to attach the cap to this, and then we can start moving coal down to power. And the nice part about the way I've done this versus my pre-play is I have freed up a whole bunch of room. My main bus in my pre-play did not start. If you remember, if you saw the videos at the start of this video, my main bus did not start until about here. This is really the first part of the mall. I'm going to remove all of this belt here, and our main bus is going to be able to start all the way back here, including, we'll have room for production down here. We can probably build belts and things down here. So that's going to be great. This is definitely a more efficient design. While it is true that you have unlimited space in Factorio, properly utilizing that space is still a worthy goal. Alright, so that is coal connected. We'll deal with getting coal to the main bus in a minute. Yeah, this should be fine to fill in for now. It's our proto-main bus. And I'm trying to think of what we need for the steel smelt, and I think it's just yeah, inserters. Oh yeah, and I ran out of, that's right. I ran out of stone furnaces. So actually what we can do is we can pop over here. You see I need one on that line, and then I need however many are in this line. We can take a blank blueprint. I've done this a couple of times. I don't know if I've explained it yet, but you can use it as a counter. It'll count how many things you need. So in this case, I'm going to say no to that blueprint. I know I need 24, well I need 25 more stone furnaces to complete this design, but what else do I need? I also need 650 belts, I need 480 inserters. Yeah, I have some undergrounds in this. I'm actually going to swap those out for red belts, and I need 72 medium power poles, which is good because I only have 19, so that's good to know. And so I need to make more of these. Quite a few more, apparently, so that's not a big deal. So we'll head back down to the starter base and pick up some supplies. And that will give us some steel smelt. Then as we need more materials, we can connect more of the mainline iron smelt. This area up here, as we need more material, all we need to do is hook up these inserters at this point and bring in power. But it's a lot of inserters. A lot of inserters. But yeah, as we start to bring the main bus online and we start to build the mall, we'll need that capacity, that smelting capacity. I pre-researched a few things. I wanted to get stack inserter size. So the thing about stack inserters is the second level of it obviously gives you additional stack inserter capacity, but the second level also gives you non-stack inserter capacity. And that is something you can research with just red and green science. That makes all of your normal inserters quite a bit more efficient. Along the way, I had to get advanced electronics, which unlocked blue science. We can't research it yet, but we now have the recipe for it, so we can make it. Throw my wood in there. This just makes small power poles out of wood. I basically have just been using this area as scratch space to build whatever I need to build. In this case, I've got a chest here with 1,000 steel in it just as a buffer. And then this is producing red belt at the moment. Assuming I have all the right stuff in here, what am I missing? Oh, what did I screw up this time? How did I get some ore on there? Huh, that's wild. So yeah, this produces red belt if you don't end up accidentally putting ore on their belt somehow. I don't know how that ore got on there. That's funny. Oh, I must have put it in the completed on one of these furnaces. Oh, that's dumb. Yeah, so this will build up a buffer of 500 fast belts. So fast belts are pretty nice because you don't need lubricant to make them. So you can build them pretty early. I think they require logistics 2. Yeah, logistics 2. Which isn't terrible, you can get that pretty early on in the game. Just start with logistics and then get logistics 2. 200 green science, 220 red science total. Okay, so we need inserters like crazy. This chest has two rows, which is 1,000 inserters. That's not going to be enough inserters, weirdly. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be enough. I need to get rid of this coal. I have some overflow chests of coal up here. Yeah, if these ever empty, get worried, because they shouldn't. Okay. Bunch of inserters, and just take the rest of my inventory in, oh, that's right. I need to get my 25, I'll put that in my hotbar so it doesn't take up too much space. Medium power poles too, that's right. Let's build a few. Oh, they don't take wire, they take actual copper plate. Alright, what did that recipe say we needed for medium power bowls? This one needs 72. And I don't think, yeah, none of these have them set up either. That one doesn't even have them defined in the template. That's the other thing I changed, is the furnace smelters, the smelting columns. I had them one column at a time, which was kind of pointless. I've changed it to 4 columns each, since really if you're smelting, that's about all you're going to need. It doesn't make sense to do a single smelting column. That's another 75 of them. Oh, because I bet I don't have them in the template. So it's at least 150 of them. Let's make 300 just to be safe. Which means we're going to need, what does this need? Oh, it's 2 of each. A total of, what, 110, so I need another 200 steel plate or so. Oh, it's only going to give me 100 of those. Copper production on this line is not great, so this is going to run out of copper very quickly. That's going to give me a total of 250. That should be fine. I have extra iron plate. I'm going to drop that off because I need as much inventory space as I can get. Drop this one piece of wire off here as well. And dump my grenades in the grenade box. And gear wheels. That'll let me carry 2,000. I'm over 50 of those, that's why. Okay, once this ticks over 50, I will grab yellow belt. Total of 2,700 yellow belt. That should be fine. That should be fine. So one of the things I think I'm actually going to start pretty quickly is concrete production. It seems like a weird thing to start early, but if you place down concrete, you get the same running speed bonus as if you are running on belt, and that's either direction. And if you want to make moving walkways, if you put some pedestrian belt, which would be, you know, belt that doesn't actually ferry resources anywhere, and you place the belt on concrete, you go even faster, because that makes sense. One of the nice parts about my pre-play base is because I was using barrels instead of pipes to move liquid, I was able to I had to have a return line for empty barrels, because when you empty the barrel to get whatever you want out of it, the petroleum or the lubricant or whatever, out of the barrel, you're left with an empty barrel. It produces X amount of fluid plus one empty barrel. So I had a barrel recycling line that would bring barrels back to the barreling facility. That had its own headaches, mostly because you'll overproduce on barrels, and your system will be like clogged full of barrels, or if you pull back on barrel production, you end up starving the system of barrels, and then you don't get anywhere near the kind of throughput you need to produce whatever it is you're producing. Well, usually red and blue circuits or plastic bars to produce red chips, to produce blue chips. It's weird looking up recommendations for what to bus and what not to bus, because recipes have changed through the years. Pre-.15 didn't require any coal on the belt because military science didn't require grenades. Now, researching gray science or military science requires grenades. I don't know. I didn't start playing the game until .15, so maybe military science didn't even exist. I think I recall that being that there were like only 4 science colors, and none of them was identified as military science, and blah blah blah. Anyway, military science requires grenades, and grenades require coal, and it makes sense if you're gonna set up your science. There are other things that require coal, like plastic requires coal. So it makes sense to bus coal. And there are some who suggested that it was not particularly necessary because you could, at the time, all it was used for really was plastic, so you could just produce plastic and bus the plastic instead. So, I don't know. I have no idea. If one is more efficient than another, I'm sure there's math to back up what is more efficient than what. But I hate math and I suck at it, so I don't care. So I'm busing coal so that I can produce plastic. Yeah, I mean, there's alternatives. You could bus crude oil. That would work. Oh, we're almost done. Almost done with steel. It'll be nice. So many things need steel. It is going to force my hand. At some point I'm going to need to move on and look for more iron elsewhere and truck it in by rail. And everybody loves trains, but I hate setting up trains in this game. They just seem like they're such overkill for what you need. Don't waste a trip. Going up here, we're gonna put some belt down. I need to fix those end splitters, that's fine. This is not a terrible design. I don't really mind it. I have my days when I have lots of misclicks and it's really annoying to put down those inserters, but it works so darn well, it's really effective. And you can upgrade it to steel furnaces, like, immediately. Right? Steel furnaces have the same footprint, don't they? It's electric furnaces that are larger. I'm going to double check that in a second here. To be completely honest, I haven't upgraded any of my smelting facilities in my pre-play. At all. I really haven't. Because there hasn't been a need. So that is that. Okay, so let's slide you underground. And I'll tap off of this belt really quick to do that one. Then these will be right. Like, let's see, I think that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it. And then if I pull the other one from the top, so if I like do that, out of these. Boy, where am I going to get some iron? Oh, these take so many iron gear wheels. Let's make one, and then we'll make the rest. So that should be able to do that, and then we'll do that underground. The underground will come up here. Right, so then this will be a direct feed. That will be a direct feed. And I'll tap this upper belt. For that one. Yeah, that should work. Oh, I'm already tapping the top belt. Ha! Good lord, girl, you just made it. You forgot how you made it. Okay, so that'll be kind of a tight fit. If we do that, that'll work. So that'll tap the bottom belt. So that taps the top, that taps the bottom, and that's a direct feed to the top, direct feed to the bottom. Should work. Should work. So I'm using Q to pick these up. I don't know if I've explained that before. This is a really terrible first playthrough. It's definitely not a how-to series. So I'm using Q to pick those up. So Q drops whatever's in your hand. It puts it back wherever it's supposed to be. In this case, I have some things pinned to my hotbar, or to my tool belt. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I got. Random! Yeah, I researched tool belt like right away. Off camera, because it's super useful to have 2 rows of quick bar. So if your cursor is empty, you don't have anything, and you arrow over something, it will give you that thing, assuming you have it in your inventory. So like I have a whole bunch of these underground belts, and I need to put some in. The nice part about it is it will give you the right orientation. Whatever you click on, it'll be the correct orientation. So that's what I'm using to build these, and it makes building things like this so much easier and so much faster. I always forget these inside belts. I forget these, and then I forget these. Always forget them. I don't know why. So I'm just going to throw these in. Darn it. It's pretty convenient when you build an underground. It automatically flips it around so you can complete it, and then it flips it back. It makes putting together these chained undergrounds really easy. Assuming you know to watch for that behavior, because of course nothing in the game tells you that it's going to do that. It's just, you know, it's game by Easter egg. It's apparently a thing that we like now. I find it immensely frustrating, but a lot of people really love it. I mean, look at how many people use Android phones. That is Phone OS by Easter egg. Android is the abusive boyfriend of the cellular phone industry. It just does things, it doesn't tell you why it's going to do them or that it's going to do them. Then it acts shocked when you're like, what the heck did you just do? Then conversely, this is annoying to me. if you're building actual physical undergrounds, it works great. This whole, like, automatically flip the undergrounds. But if you're building them as ghost images, it doesn't flip them. So you have to use a completely different building strategy for those. Which you can still build quickly, but it's completely different. Oh, this game... Interface consistency is not this game's strong suit. It really is not. Okay, so I'm just gonna tap off of these two lines, because that makes no sense and sounds like a good idea. So that'll be that line. And then this line will be, I want to tap off of you. I'm not at all worried about running out of coal on these. There's some initial starvation while the system sets up, but I haven't had any problems with coal starvation on my smelting arrays at all. It's been very good. Which is the other reason I'm not, racing to build something else. Because these do what I want them to do. They function quite well. Okay, all we have left to do is put in power, and we're going to be good to go. So there's coal on its way in. We don't have any exit for this yet. Good, these are I've finished moving these around. I do these a lot where I have chains of inserters. If I've put a belt in a bad place, I can usually empty the belt. Excuse me. I can usually empty the belt pretty quickly. Okay, so I want a 5-to-1 inserter, or 5-to-1 balancer. I'm gonna... Excuse me. This morning just... Ugh. That does not come with a blueprint file. That's fine. We'll build this right here. So 5-to-1 balancer. I just have the wiki up in my browser over here. We're going to throw down that 5-to-1 balancer, I think. Let's do it over here, going this direction. Which means y'all need to move. I don't have enough inventory space to move these chests. I do have enough to move that chest. Okay. Well, let's get these chests moving. Out of the way. Oh, that's gonna take forever. Okay, we'll put it down here. Let me grab this here real quick. This should be pretty easy to build, actually. I'm going to build it out of fast belts. I'm not going to include it in the blueprints. If you need to build it, well, I guess we're doing 5-to-1 on our steel, so yeah, I'll include it. Brain. There and there and there. Oh, I just have to rotate this 180 degrees in my head. This is bad. This is bad. That is gonna go there. That only goes out 2. There's another balancer, another splitter. We're gonna need another. Yeah, let's just build another 5 of these. Oh, brain. That is gonna go there. Let's just put these down and then I can connect them. Yeah, that should be that. That goes there. Oh, that goes the other direction. That is the exit of the output. Oh Lord, what did I do? Oh, these are all backwards. It's definitely too early for me to be building balancers rotated 180 degrees. That one is correct. This one is also correct. This goes here. That goes into a splitter. Riveting, right? I mean, so that was right, sort of. I did have that right. Crying out loud. That goes there. That is not connected. That is also not connected. Okay, yeah, so there's our 5-into-1 balancer. Nothing like watching me build a balancer right on screen. That's great. So let's connect it really quick, and then we'll hook up power, and that'll be it for this episode. We'll start building the main bus and the mall in the next episode. That is going to be fun. Because once the mall is built, things start feeling like a mega base. That's when things really start to feel good. Yeah, I'm just going to do that. It'll just be simpler. It's a little squiddly, but that's fine. Okay, power. As I said, I revised these blueprints. One of the reasons I wanted to revise them, other than it being, you know, a worthless one-lane blueprint, and actually I didn't revise them completely correctly. I apparently missed a bunch of these stupid power poles again. Alright. Or no, that's right, because I overlaid this one. That's why they're duplicated. Okay. Don't feel quite so bad now. Yeah, so that was one of the things that was really bothering me, is because I built those early smelting columns as single columns, as single row columns. I had a whole bunch of stupid overlapping, pointlessly overlapping power poles. And this one, because I've overlaid two, I don't need that pole there, do I? No, I don't. Because I've overlaid, now I have a four pole overlay, or 4-pole blueprint, because I've overlaid that blueprint. I need it in exactly the spot it's not in. Out, out, in, out. I was looking at it, I'm like, is that real life? I need the power pole in the place it's not in? Yes, that's correct. And the next one will go there. Anyway, they were just a ridiculous number. If you used the blueprint pack, I'm so sorry. There are just so many stupid power poles in that blueprint. It's ridiculous and pointless. And if you try to use that blueprint, once you have robots, they're going to put in all those power poles and waste all your power poles. Because the robots don't know. It's not their fault. They don't know that the person who designed that blueprint was stupid. Can you tell that one is an original blueprint? That's not a blueprint I got from elsewhere? Yes, you can, because the blueprint quality is quite a bit less. Alright, so this should be it. Hook up power, and there we go. Away they go. We are smelting steel. Oh, steel takes so long. It takes so long to craft. Oh, we are not saturating all of these. Oh, steel production sucks so much. It's just so awful. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it on my MISC bus. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'll have coal and steel. Trying to think if there's anything else I put on my MISC bus. I don't think there is. So yeah, that's it. So our main bus is starting to take shape, which is pretty awesome. So next episode we're going to do concrete. We'll start making concrete, and I think I have a stone resource nearby, I think. Oh, I have my little tiny stone resource. That should be sufficient. Yeah, we'll make concrete out of this, because I won't need it to build oh, good lord, there's 2,500 of those in there. I won't need it to build stone furnaces anymore. We'll make concrete. Stone, brick, and concrete. So that's what we'll do with that. We'll make concrete, and we'll set up the mall. And I think we'll set the mall up. I think we'll put it here. Look at that, right on. Right where I thought I was going to put it. Right where I thought I was going to put it. That's cool. The green chips are right in the right spot. Yeah, I think that'll work. Alright, well, it's a much more productive episode this time. So thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, leave a comment if you'd like to see me do something, or if you think I'm doing something in a less than efficient way, or there's a way to solve a problem I'm having. I appreciate the feedback, I really do. It's really, really handy. The entire reason that this series is continuing right now is because of feedback. Receiving feedback from you is the only thing that's going to tell me what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. You know, I'm not going to... Some things I can learn just from watching other videos, and just like figuring out how I use YouTube, but your likes, your comments help me tune this channel to be whatever you want it to be. So, anyway, thanks so much. That is Factorio for now. Episode 5, Steel and Main Boss. Take care and stay awesome.